Masot under the Tak province in Thailand. It is the border town. It is the border town. You can find the non-citizens number higher than local Thai people. I had met some Rohingya young guys. They are not, I think so, not more than 20 years or maybe below 18 years. So there's 11 people originated from the Siptui in the Rakhine state. Firstly, they reached in the Yangon by road under military guidance. Please look in the Myanmar military guidance. After 3 days, they started journey from the Yangon to Mandalay in the Masot border. That guy name is Lokman. Actually, it's not the real name Lokman. Just I wanted to show what they said. We paid a big amount of money to the Myanmar military as well as middlemen who brought us into the Thailand. And now they safely reached in the Thailand. And in front of me, he was talking with his family member in the city over phone. Yes, he's safely reached in Thailand. Definitely, Thailand is not the lucrative place or is not the destination. It is transit. And he's waiting to go Ranong in another southern border of Thailand and then cross and have planned to cross the border and has planned to reach in the Malaysia. But I don't know later than he safely reached in Malaysia or not. This is his plan. He was discussed with me. Why? Because we don't have any future inside of the Myanmar. So they are desperate to go abroad and try to settle anywhere. So this is the Rohingya the various international media highlighted Rohingya boat people. Okay, there are another. It was between April to May 2018, 16 Rohingya refugees in Thailand and Malaysia have fled from the Myanmar. There is one guy, his name is researcher about how he traveled 53 days from Rakhine state to Malaysia. Okay, I don't want to say that what happened inside of the Myanmar. We know the inside of the Myanmar, the stories. How he come in here. Ismail and other Rohingya with him paid a broker to guide them along a complicated land road through Bangladesh and India to the Chin state in Myanmar, and then Mandalay, Yangon, and eventually cross the Thai border. He told, he and other survivors described how armed men held them in a cage, confined them to apartments and houses, beat them and demanded a series of payment, continued to journey to the Malaysia. So it is after the 53 days, they reach in the Malaysia. The land roads are very complicated situations, and they also paid a lot of money. At the same time, they are also physically tortured by the traffickers. So who is involved in traffickers? Law enforcement, and all transit and destination and you can find all these forces, government officials, criminal networks. Authorities were forced against the traffickers. Why? Because about the trafficking 1, 2, 3. The Thailand is now in the tier 2 levels. So if they're going with the three tier, then might be Thailand will face some sanctions. So why Thai government takes some effective measures against the traffickers. As a result, Thai officials were involved in the trafficking. It was discussed 2015. More than 60 people were sent to jail, including former Army General Manis Kongpang, who were sentenced 27 years for organized crime. This is the photo. It was published in various newspapers. These corrupt official traffickers not only involved in this process. Look, in the very recent, at this moment, the COVID time, many Rohingyas are coming and they are in the sea. And sometimes Bangladesh or Indonesia allowed them to their territories. According to UNHCR, the women who undertook the journey in this motivated. How in this trafficking is motivated to escape from the violence from the Myanmar. This is very true. And because there are various regions, and also would like to settle their husband in Malaysia. Look, there is another scenario. When I discussed with the Malaysia and the many Rohingyas, they are living in here, they come by boat or anyway, they cannot bring their family. Now they are waiting for their families. So they are also paying the traffickers to bring their wife or other family members in Malaysia. So this is one of the scenarios. However, many Rohingya women, their journey involving further violence and ended in the exploitations, including forced marriage and prostitutions. These trafficked Rohingya women have no opportunity to achieve justice against such a violence, either in Bangladesh or Myanmar, Malaysia or Thailand. This is the helpless situations for these trafficked Rohingya women. What is the consequences? Being stranded at the sea on hell, in jungle, camps on the Thai-Myanmar border, where traffickers demand 1,200 to 2,000 feet to let them continue their journey. According to Ismail and Lokman's statement, we found the similar things. If they are unable to pay the required amount, armed traffickers held them in captivity to board vessels or in the jungle camps without providing basic necessities like water, food, or medicine. Rohingya women were also sold into the forced marriage to Rohingya men in Malaysia. This is a very common phenomenon, and it was also published in the BBC News. And after traffickers connected potential husbands to pay for the release of women here in their captivity. According to the UNHCR study, it's a child marriage among the Rohingya refugees in Malaysia. A match already live in the country like Malaysia would often be welcomed by the girl's family in Myanmar because of their insecurity, violence, and many other ways. So this is the scenarios they are provocating to bring the Rohingya women for their purposes. A Muslim girl, in Malaysian context, I'm talking about the Malaysian context. A Muslim girl below the age of 16 is allowed to marry if she has consent from the Sharia code. But there is not legally, because their legal status is very much unclear. Only they can claim that, yes, they are a UNHCR registered card holder, but it has not any legal status that you can seek some protections from the code. Or for Sohai, if the law enforcers cannot intervene, it is like an abuse of the domestic affairs or domestic abuse. So what is the international protection for them? So international protections and initiatives for the Rohingyas. There are some UN conventions about against transnational organized crimes. And Palermo Protocol divided into the various components of the recruitment, transportation, transport, recipients of the persons. It means use a lot of things are in here to protect the trafficked persons. But my question is it really working for them or not? Apart from the international UN convention and UN measures, the legal regimes such as Southeast Asian adapted beyond the ASEAN, we can find the Bali process as a platform for the dialogue for the Asia Pacific region's countries. As stated, the Article 2 of the ASEAN Convention against Trafficking Persons, especially women and children, refer many other things what actually we discussed in the international conventions. It means they have some protections under the international legal framework. But the situation same there. So now I'm coming on the solutions. It's very difficult to say what is the solutions. Rohingya journey, it is completely related with the political matters. I'm going back, and it's not on the human rights, it's the political affairs. Inside of the Myanmar, if it was to acknowledge the Rohingyas' identity as an indigenous people, then automatically they can enjoy their citizenship, what actually revoked in 1982 citizenship law. That is one of the most discriminatory law in the world about regarding the citizenship law. And the Myanmar government has very strong plan to eradicate the Rohingya community. Eradicate, I'm using the words, the eradications. So if they would like to restore the Rohingya citizenship or acknowledge the indigenous identity, situation might be better, but no one can say the Rohingya problems will be solved tomorrow. Because look, other ethnic minorities in Myanmar, they also face the same kinds of operations by the Myanmar government. But the Rohingya case is a little bit different compared to other ethnic minorities. Okay, this is the one thing from the Myanmar side. On the other side, we can say ASEAN Vision 2020 emphasize the importance of making an inclusive community to protect and promote the human rights of women. However, transnational networks of traffickers in the region have increased the risk of sexual and gender-based violence for the Rohingya women, and protection of Rohingya women who are victims of trafficking have not given proper attention with the ASEAN community. With the transnational nature of the trafficking, both international and regional regimes encourage government to share information, coordinate policies, and effort to criminalize against the trafficking offense, provide mutual legal assistance, protect victims, and prosecute against the offenders. So this is the way we can find some solutions. But my particular opinion in these cases need to acknowledge the Rohingyas' identity as an indigenous group in Myanmar. This is most important. Then other problems we can resolve step by step. Though we saw there are a lot of international legal frameworks and measures even in the ASEAN sites, but it is not working for the Rohingya people. So this is actually the tragedy for the Rohingyas. So I would like to stop my discussions. I think that I already take enough time because moderators might be giving me a warning. So before the warning, I would like to stop my discussions and waiting for answers from the viewers or our moderators that if I know that definitely I should share with my opinion with you. Thank you again. Thank you lots to giving me time to discuss my experience on working on the Rohingya people in Malaysia and Thailand context. Talking with you again if I'll get an opportunity to get any questions from our viewers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, especially for heeding my warnings. To our audience members that are on Zoom, please do put your questions in the chat and I will ask them to our speakers when we get to the question and answer portion of this presentation. But for now, I'm going to hand the floor over to Ms. Sultana, who will talk specifically about the situation in Bangladesh.
Thank you so much and for giving me the opportunity to tell something about the Rohingya issue inside in camp in Bangladesh. I'm a human rights activist, also working for Rohingya women in the field level in Cox's Bazar. And from 2017 now till giving psychosocial resilience support and empowering the women to survive with limited resource. Doing advocacy for vulnerable community and seeking justice, peace, and freedom and asking a dignified solution, what they deserve being a human. The Rohingya is still helpless and getting ignorant. It's been 3.5 years. Now not a single word or step particularly forward to ensure a Rohingya life. Not in camp, not in Rakhine state, even can't give a proper refugee life. More than 1 million Rohingya refugees, many who fled genocidal attack by the Myanmar military in 2016 and 17, live in overcrowded refugee camp in Cox's Bazar district, Bangladesh. Since September 2019, excuse me, the government of Bangladesh has restricted mobile internet communication in area around the camp, limiting access to information. This restriction collapsed with the construction of a fencing to confine refugees to the camp has heightened fear within the camp, particularly giving concern around COVID-19. Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh, Cox's Bazar, are at risk of falling prey to human traffickers who exploit them sexually and for forced labor. Around 1 million Rohingya live in cramped school camp in Cox's Bazar. More than 700 have fled there since August 2017, escaping violence and persecution in Myanmar. Most of them arrive in Bangladesh with nothing more than the clothes on their backs. It is illegal to leave the Rohingya refugee camp in Bangladesh, though many go out to work every day. There are no jobs in the camp, nor any other way to make a living. Living check vajol with few schools which have no proper education system and no college. Surrounded with iron fist, the camp are full of young people desperate to get out. Cox's Bazar is a border area. No doubt it is a fertile ground for trafficker and drug smuggling. Many Rohingya refugees willing to take journey to escape overcrowded camp in Bangladesh. Most escaped a brutal military crackdown against them in Myanmar, and their attempts to find a new home have left them open to abuse at the hand of traffickers. The Rohingya refugees are told they will be taken to India, Thailand, or Malaysia. Once outside the camp, they are made to do forced labor instead. There have been reports of women being forced into prostitution, and all know they cannot go to the authorities because they have taken the first illegal step by leaving their camp. Due to this situation and lack of job opportunities make them extremely vulnerable to human traffickers. Women and girls are at particular risk of being trafficked into the sex trade and of being violently abused. There is an expanding cottage industry and manufacturing where have many young men who are looking for work, who are also very much at risk of being exploited in those kind of work environments where they are underpaid. They are forced to endure long hours of work. In some cases, they are not allowed to return home with any regularity. Because of the clandestine nature of the crime, IOM has identified only 78 victims of trafficking in the past 10 months, but the UN Migration Agency notes this represents just a fraction of the true number. It said it has a lot of subjective evidence that thousands are at risk from all forms of trafficking. Bangladesh is a source transit in a destination country for human trafficking, in particular for men, women, and children subjected to forced labor and sex trafficking. Some Bangladeshi men and women who migrate willingly to work in Middle East, Southern and East Africa, South and Southeast Asia, Europe, and United States face conditions indicative of forced labor. Before their departure, many migrant workers assume the way to pay high requirement fees imposed legally by requirement agencies belonging of Bayara and illegally by unlicensed sub-agents. This place migrant workers at risk of debate bandage. Some requirement agency had agents also commit requirement fraud, including contract switching, in which they promise one type of job and condition, but then change the job, employer, condition, or salary after arrival. Women and girls who migrate for domestic work are particularly vulnerable to abuse. Some women who migrate through Bangladeshi requirement agencies to Lebanon, Jordan, or Middle East, any country of domestic work, and sold and transported to Syria and subjected to forced labor and sex trafficking. Some women also and children are subjected to sex trafficking and forced labor in India and cannot deny illegal organ trade in India because it's easier to get away with in this country. In 2018, the government of Bangladesh launched a national plan of action for combating human trafficking, expanding on a 2012 plan to encompass all type of internal and cross-border human trafficking. The plan also seeking to address the limitation of previous efforts, including Bangladeshi and non-Bangladeshi migrant and refugees. The Constitution of Bangladesh further commits to prevent violation of human rights in general, including all forms of human trafficking. Moreover, Bangladesh is committed to attaining to Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Since trafficking of women and girls in a form of violence, and as such, response or trafficking must be connected to the broader targets of the Sustainable Development Goals relating to the elimination of all forms of violence against women and girls. Given the fluid transitional nature of human trafficking in Bangladesh, it is also important to connect the response in and around the refugee camp in Cox's Bazar to the wider country context and existing. Between 2012 and 2015, an estimate 125,000 people were trafficked from Bangladesh, most of them Rohingya. The records show a big spot after that, around 15,000 Rohingya trafficked from March 2019 to March 2020, most of them women and children. Many cannot pay for the expedition of food despite their best efforts, especially since traffickers have a habit of making new demands once the vessel has sailed from St. Martin Island in Bangladesh. Those who cannot meet this demand are reportedly come ashore at Takuapa in southern Thailand instead of being taken to Malaysia. There, the would-be immigrant are reportedly held to ransom. And the tales of torture, rape, and murder are very common. Those who manage to satisfy the traffickers are placed in a small boat of Langkawi, Malaysia, famous resort island. We all know the last 2015, a mass grave was found in a forest on the Thailand-Malaysia border near Takuapa, giving credibility to the tales of kidnapping, torture, rape, and murder. Trafficking went down after 2015, but restarted in August 2017 at the highest of the human flood from Myanmar. Using data gathered by the Bangladesh Rural Advancement Committee, BRAC, and the police, Bangladesh media report compiled the trafficking related tragedies from August 2017 to February 2018. 197 bodies were recovered from the sea. 28 boats sunk, and at least 500 people left missing. Bangladesh Security Force estimate that around 1,600 Rohingyas were trafficked in the 1 year starting March 2018. Their records show 15 trafficking related deaths during this period. On April 22nd, Bangladesh Foreign Minister Abdul Momen told the media, I am opposed to allowing these Rohingya into the country because Bangladesh is always asked to take care of the responsibility of other countries. We no longer allow any Rohingya. On April 23rd, UNHCR called on state to avoid COVID-19 response measure that result in the closure of avenues to asylum or of forcing people to return to a situation of danger. On April 16, Malaysia pushed out to sea a ship of Rohingya refugees. The position of the ship and the well-being of its passenger remains unknown. Pushback action and policies violate the principle of refoulement, which prohibit the rejection at the furniture, interruption and indirect refoulement of individual at risk of persecution. Although neither Bangladesh nor Malaysia has ratified the 1951 UN Refugee Convention or 1967 protocol, the principle of non-refoulement as a part of customary international law and is therefore binding on all states. Under the principle, all countries are obligated to protect Rohingya from being returned, including through return that are informal, such as pushback out to sea. There are reasonable ground to believe that rescued Rohingya are survivors of human trafficking as opposed to smuggling. The crimes against Rohingya survivors of the recently rescued boat are consistent with similar past situations involving Rohingya on boat at sea that were regarded as human trafficking by authorities in Bangladesh, Thailand, and Malaysia. Evidence indicated the operator of the rescued ship of Rohingya were responsible for Rohingya, gained control over their victims through threat and use of force, commanded large sums of money, and held their victims in conditions similar to slavery for the purpose of exploitation. These elements are consistent with human trafficking. In March 2019, the National Human Rights Commission of Malaysia and for 45 Rights published the 121-page report, Sold Like Fish, based on a multi-year investigation into the human trafficking of Rohingya from Myanmar and Bangladesh to Malaysia from 2012 to 2015. Conditions documented in the reports are similar to those unfolding now. Under international law, slavery occurred when a perpetrator exercised any or all of the power attaching to the right of ownership over one or more persons, such as by purchasing, selling, lending, or retiring such a person or persons, or by imposing on them a similar deprivation of liberty. By identifying Rohingya as their property, depriving them of their liberty, and demanding large sums of money, the perpetrator exercised any or all of the power attaching to the right of ownership over their captive, and therefore engaged in the practice of slavery, or at a minimum practice similar of slavery. The law enforcement agencies become proactive only when something goes wrong with the trafficking and people have to be rescued from in trawler. Traffickers are roaming unchecked in the refugee camp, as they are in the rest of the country. UNHCR and humanitarian partners are regularly reaching out to refugees on issues of trafficking and exploitation and sensitizing them on risks and helping the community protect itself. Providing information to the community is key in raising awarenesses about the issue and to help mitigate the risks. Authorities in Bangladesh should follow due process in investigating trafficking of Rohingya refugees in Cox's Bazar district. The government should ensure all perpetrators of human trafficking and human rights violation are held accountable and provided with due process right and trial that meet international fair trial standard. At last, I can say our lives began to end the day when we all become silent about things that really matters. I thank you.
Thank you very much. And let me remind our audience members on Zoom to please put your questions in the chat so that I can ask them to our speakers during the Q&A, which is now. But if I may take moderator's privilege for a second, I would like to follow up on a comment that you made, Ms. Sultana, in your remarks, which is, what is the justification given to restricting mobile communications by the authorities around the camps?
This is very complicated issue in Cox's Bazar. Around in the camp, some mobile network already, I think, restricted, but not the whole area. Specific, the mobile, they are allowed to use Rohingya, it's all under control. They cannot use available it. And also I can say the region, the Cox's Bazar to Teknaf, the connection is under control. Thus they are telling, is this about 4G or 3G? But we see, every day we are facing the same situation. I think I am lucky today. I'm not facing any problem after 7 o'clock, but yesterday I was also in an event. There are so many problems I faced. So last, even if you buy the data, it cannot work here. So it is a one purposely, it's a kind of restricts these people in the camp. They try to be control the situation, but I say this is not a control. It's like they are pushing them to be, just it's like let them live like that. They are not allowed to be use advanced communication. Because if they can use, they can inform the all kind of illegal work or injustice thing happen inside the camp. It's not only for own community. Also, there are so many people, so many groups who are doing this, so that it cannot be exposed. So it is a restriction. It is under control. We cannot do anything, but always they are saying, no, this is all, this is okay, but we see this is not okay. The internet, mobile phone use is under restriction in Rohingya camp.
We're very lucky to have you today with us and on a pretty good broadband.
But I have backup. I have backup.
I see. You came prepared.
Yesterday it was a worse situation. Thank you.
So I'm going to switch to our Q&A, and I'll ask the first one that came in. And this is for you, Dr. Haq. And of course, Ms. Sultana, if you want to join, please do. What would you like to say to the Bangladesh government regarding trafficking? Bangladesh is one of the major places to stop it. And this comes from a Rohingya youth that we're lucky to have with us.
Actually, I would like to go back to the main discussions. What I actually read from the Anisullah's questions, the burden sharing. Burden sharing is a very common vocabulary in the refugee world and displaced world. Malaysia is also saying that we are carrying the largest number of the Rohingya refugees. Rohingya refugees. Bangladesh is also saying that yes, we are also carrying the largest number of the Rohingya refugees. So completely is different phenomena. Bangladesh is economically is not the suitable place for the Rohingya life. I don't want to think that it is a suitable place for Rohingyas are coming to settle down in here. Even when I discussed with the Rohingyas in Malaysia, they would like to go back, but it is not possible for them to go back. No one would like to live in outside of the country, outside of the home, because they have home, they have paddy field, they have the pond, they are grown up, there are forefathers' graves over there. So they have a lot of emotional attachment with their country of origin in the Arakan states. No one would like to go outside. Why? The situations is not really allow them to stay inside of the country. And I don't want to think that the burden sharing is completely different. If we really look the suitable solutions, or sustainable solutions from these problems, then we should have to look inside of the Myanmar context. Inside of the Myanmar, if they can access their citizenship or they can access their indigenous identity, then it will be really possible. Then it is the root cause of the problems. Burden sharing is the different, the secondary matter, the tertiary matters. Why I should have to come in the Malaysia? Okay, just now, as a Bangladeshi origin, I am now working here as a university teacher, as an expatriate. I have been working in Thailand as an expatriate. But I can go back in my country of origin in Bangladesh. But the Rohingya cannot go back their country of origin in Myanmar. That is very basic difference with them. And they now become the burden, even though they are the asset of the human resources. Why the Rohingya is not treated as a human resources? They are treated as a refugee, and then it is our this way. Rohingyas also contributed by Thailand, the Rohingya peoples. It is not the popular destination for them. Only few thousands of Rohingyas are living in different places because of ethnic, religious matters. Maybe they are not feel more comfortable compared to the Malaysia. So this is the scenario of these 3-4 countries about the journeys. And Indonesian situation, when I talked with the Indonesia in the Aceh provinces, there are some Rohingyas living there. Actually, this is not the destinations. Somehow they were moving on because in the sea journey, the Rough Sea or might be their boat landed over there. But it is not their popular destinations and they don't want to. There. But the Indonesian people are really their hospital. What are the solutions? Then we can discuss. If we will not identify the root cause of the problem, then we have to talking about the why Bangladesh carrying, what's the Bangladesh positions, what the Malaysians positions, and why Malaysia will take or not take it. This is the secondary and tertiary matters. But it is the reality. Actually, I try to explore my reality. Why the Rohingya women are coming in here? Because the many Malaysian, the many Rohingya men are living in here. They also came by boat, 5 to 6, 7 years. They cannot go back because they don't have any papers. So this is very complicated situations. When we are talking about the non-refoulement, that is the different conditions. Different conditions, it means you cannot expel you cannot see back them in the sea where their life is more in danger, or Southeast Asian countries are not like the European countries. And they don't have any the legal framework to hosting the refugees. It is completely their generosity. We should have to respect their generosity. From human rights point of view, yes, definitely they have some legal obligations because in the principle of non-refoulement, you cannot expel them from your country where their life is in danger. And we cannot compare the Rohingya people to other ethnic, any minorities in the Myanmar or Bangladesh or any people. But they're most persecuted people. So I discussed with you that the Rohingya trafficking journey is not the solely trafficking, it is the related to the persecutions. When it is the persecutions, we cannot say this is a trafficking. trafficking is one of the formations, one of the main inside of the country. They don't have any choice. This situation is not only the trafficking. Yes, trafficking journey is sending the trafficking journey, but the main problem related to the persecutions. So in here, the refugee issues and trafficking are interrelated. It's not looking from the trafficking context. Trafficking, yes, the many women are trafficked from Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, even the Vietnam to Thailand. Thailand is the transit points. Even my one experience, just within a 1 minute, I would like to conclude my discussions. It was 20 years before I have been working due to financial condition and ultimately their destinations the brothel and the areas as a sex worker because they don't in India. But the situation is in the Rohingya situation is not like this. In Bangladeshi women, might be they are also trapped sometimes, but 20 years before, economic conditions in Bangladesh and now it is completely different. And so why we are talking about the Bangladeshi migrant workers, illegal migrant workers, and the Rohingya journey, please don't mix it together. Bangladeshi women and their migrations is completely willing migrations. It is not the forced displacements. Rohingya discussions, we should have to remind it is related to the forced displacement. Even their trafficking is also related to the displacement. Is a completely different world from our academic point of view. So when we are talking about the Rohingya displacements, the persecutions, displacements, and another forms of the trafficking. Don't want to mix in with the Bangladeshi or another prostitutions or trafficking or women exploitations, completely different phenomena. So anyway, okay.
I'm going to cut you off only because we're already 4 minutes over time and we have a couple more questions that I would like to get to. So I'm going to ask 2 more questions if it's okay with you, if you both have time. Okay. One of them is from our audience, and they ask, do you guys have a durable solution for Rohingyas network to hold in a frame and settle down? I'll start with you, Ms. Sultana, because I know you were trying to answer that in chat, but I wanted to make sure that our YouTube participants also were able to hear your answer.
As Professor Mahabud said, this matter is also political, and the Rohingya issue only can be solved if the political way the country and the people and also the international community will be together. And for my experience, and I'm seeing the Bangladesh situation, they are talking about the repatriation, about the solving the issue, but the proper diplomacy, what we can say diplomacy, they are not using the people who really make the solution. I think so, not solution, but they can give the advice. These people are always far from this issue. Only they involve some ING people, some of spokesperson, those who are doing their job, not by heart. It's like they have job, they have to sit and they are talking. They are both party have the some condition. They are writing or telling this one, but not a single durable solution they can give. The people who can do in the 4 years, we are not using them. So we have to be forward in this issue. We have to push them. So please use this kind of mental and this kind of people, those who can find a durable solution. And that is my experiences for my concept. Not, I don't know what about the professor. Please go ahead.
Yes, I fully agree with. I fully agree.
I believe the internet at Cox's
My
Bazar
experience
is
also
better
saying
today.
that, and I had a discussion. What?
So,
Yes, when you are talking about the Rohingya issues, but you are not talking the Rohingya community. You are talking in the state level, the Bangladeshi officials and international officials. But the Rohingya community is completely absent of this whole process. That should not be viable. That should
Who
not
will
be
give,
viable.
Professor, who will give the platform? In Bangladesh, when I say I am Rohingya, I am always under question. And I always under threat why I'm telling myself Rohingya. So I have to describe in each and every moment this, yes, my identity is Rohingya, my origin is Rohingya, but I am a Bangladesh citizenship. So they are not allow anyone, any Rohingya vocal in the platform. They don't want us. They use those boys who can obey them, who are talking with them, who are, I think, covered the all issues. We are not.
Pick up boy. Pick up boy.
This is the main problem.
I think yes, I fully agree with the advocate Razia Sultana's questions. If you really find a durable solution, you should have to incorporate the Rohingya political leaders. Rohingya has a political party, exile political parties, and inside of the country, Rohingya political parties. Without Rohingya political leaderships, we may not find any durable solutions. Even though I know at this moment, and an advocate Razia knows very much well because she's working with the last couple of years in the camps. There are many refugee organizations are growing up, including ARSA. And ARSA has a lot of questions about their activities. So this is not the way to incorporate the Rohingya voice in the repatriations or any kinds of solution. Inside of the Myanmar, you should have to incorporate the Rohingya political party. And exile political parties, when it is the really find discussions about the Rohingya issues. But without the Rohingya community voice, I don't think that only INGO, international organizations, or UN or Bangladeshi officials can find any solutions. No, it should not be. Community voice should be incorporated, and this community leader should be the political background. Without political backgrounds, voice come in yesterday, and you pick up this guy today and send him to America or any other international forums. I don't think so. They are really make the voice from the Rohingya community. I think Advocate Razia might be agreeing with my points. This should not be the way. So better we should try to find the Rohingya. Yes, there are Rohingya political parties, and you should incorporate them. Otherwise, we cannot find the durable solutions.
I have seen our leaders from my childhood. I'm seeing. I didn't see any action. I didn't see the real. I see that we are divided so many groups, and we are not coming in one bowl. Why we are not coming in one bowl? Do our leaders can make some point that they can be all together? Every time I'm seeing they are apart in any, if any issues arise, they are always separate. I want to be all in one bowl. Maybe for this way we can make a strong, not group, a strong community level mentality. But I didn't see anything here. There are so many leaders I'm seeing. Each and everyone is here. I accept. We are all leaders. When we are vocal, we are all leaders. But when the problem is arise, where are the leaders? Leaders should be in front, and leaders should be lead us. We want, as you say, proper leadership who can guide us. So let's find a leader or a ground where we can choose a group or a leader, so who can give us idea. And I hope we have.
I am going to cut this conversation that is very interesting at this point, just because we are so over. But I want to thank both of you so much for your time and for having a very frank and open conversation about the current situation. We have seen, I don't think anyone can argue with this, a bad situation become worse. We've had a coup, we have COVID, we had a fire in one of the camps that killed 11 and made 45,000 people homeless. It is my hope that whoever these mythical leaders are come together and are able to find a solution that is humane for all parties. I hope that's something we can agree on. And with that, I'm going to thank everyone for participating. I want to again thank all of Arno's supporters, the Holocaust Resource Center at Kean University, the Holocaust and Genocide Studies MA program at Kean University, International Association of Genocide Scholars, the Common Good Foundation, Au Contrario ICL, and the Human Rights Institute at Kean University. I want to thank all the people behind the scenes at Arno that have made this such a pleasure to participate in. And of course, I want to thank Ms. Sultana and Dr. Haik for all their work and for being here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.